If you want to grow your wealth, your income, and increase the amount of time off, then these are the shortcuts that can help. Welcome to the Wealth Creation Podcast. Hey everybody, it's Dan. Hope you're well today. Welcome to the podcast show. So today we're going to talk about CrossFit actually. I've been doing CrossFit for about 2.5 years, and if you follow me on any of the socials, which you should be doing, you'll see that I sometimes post some of the workouts in text form, so you can see actually what we've done, because it blows me away that we've just performed those exercises, because often there is a lot. If you look at this morning's, for example, a huge amount, like my shoulders are absolutely killing me. I just could not lift anything else. But I also sometimes video some of those workouts as well, such as handstand push-ups. We tested a drone, so I did a rope climb with the drone coming up next to us. It's really cool. So if you don't follow me on socials, you should do. And every so often I use CrossFit as a reference point during the podcast. And it occurred to me that actually I've not really spoken about my CrossFit journey. And so really that's what we're going to talk about here. But also we're going to provide 4 reasons why you should also be doing some sort of functional training like CrossFit. And it doesn't have to be CrossFit. It can be high rocks. It can be circuit training. Anything that involves cardio and lifting weights. Anything that involves those two things. If it doesn't involve lifting weights, you're doing it wrong. If it doesn't involve some form of cardio, if you're just lifting weights, for example, you're doing it wrong. Okay, and we're going to run through the reasons as to why I think you're probably doing it wrong. Now, you might completely disagree with that. Totally fine. Let me know in the comments down below. But my CrossFit journey started when I was turning 50, and it was a few months before, and I put weight on, you know. And I was like 83 kilos, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm either going to get fat or fit. And I got this choice as I was heading towards my birthday, which was in July, and I started having this thought process in April. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to get fat or fit? And I've been up to the local CrossFit gym a few times, and it was just so intimidating first walking in there. Everyone's got the shirts off, everyone's got six-pack abs. Knowing it now, I realise not everybody has that. They were all the trainers, but it's like this idea that everyone else is super fit, they all know what they're doing, and it's ridiculous. And there's this saying which is, don't let somebody else's day 500 put you off your day 1. You know, like, don't compare somebody else's day 500 with your day 1. Two very, very different things. I was talking to one of the girls at CrossFit today, and she's struggling to do handstand push-ups, and it's like, it took me 2 years to learn how to do a handstand push-up, to get the strength to do a handstand push-up, because they're really hard to do. Don't compare my 2 years, so 700 days in with her, whatever it is, 30 or 40 or 60 days, whatever that happens to be. It takes time. This process does take time. And so I knew that going into my 50s, I was either going to get fatter, because I was already fat, or I was going to get fitter. And it was that decision. And so I went to the local CrossFit. Fat Dan walks up, and God, and then I did my first workout. Oh my gosh, I could hardly walk afterwards. And you know when you leave and you feel like people are talking about you, and they were like, that's the first day CrossFitter right there. It was so funny. And then I went back. And then I went back, and I went back, and I went back, and I started to enjoy it. And then all these extra things that you don't actually realise kind of kick in after you've been going for a while. And really, that's what we're going to talk about. But I was reading a book relatively recently, and it's not called Longevity. I keep calling it Longevity, but I can't remember what it's called. But it's about basically living as long as you can. And some of the studies have shown that grip strength, for example, how strong you can grip is an indicator for longevity. And the reason for that is really interesting. It's because if you're an old man like me, not like me, but if you're in your 70s and 80s and you're falling and you can grip something to prevent you falling and breaking your hip, that's an indicator that you're going to live longer. Simply the grip strength. And one of the other indicators as well was the amount of muscle that you're carrying on your frame. Because if you've got muscle in your legs, for example, you know, most people think a fall or a trip when you're in your 70s and 80s that kills you is like, you know, you fell off the ladders or something like that. And actually, that's not the case. Most trips or falls are like just stepping off a curb wrong. You didn't see the curb. you tripped down, you lost your balance, you fell over, you cracked your hip, you're dead 6 months after. That's really where it happens. And you might be like, yeah, but Dan, I'm not 70 and 80 and 90, and neither am I. But we know, right, that if you wait until you're 70 to get these habits of going to the gym and lifting weights and building cardiovascular and building muscle, you're definitely not going to build that habit in your 70s and 80s. It's impossible to do. And the habits have to be formed earlier. One of my biggest regrets actually is not learning CrossFit 10 years ago when it first came out, 15 years ago, whatever it was. Really, that was my really big regret. I was so focused on basketball, and basketball's great for cardio, great for injuries. Like, I played basketball a couple of weeks ago. My Achilles has been sore for the last couple of weeks, and it's like, if I keep playing, I'm going to ping it. I definitely don't want to ping it because it's too explosive. I'm 52. I can't play basketball against these guys half my age the same way that I used to play basketball when I was the same age. Just the wrong sport. And it's really interesting that mentally I still want to play these games, but physically the body's like, no. And you and I both know it doesn't matter how old you are. If you're in your 30s, you feel 20. If you're in your 40s, you feel 30. If you feel in your 50s and 60s, you still feel 30 and 40, right? Until you then do some exercise and then it kicks your butt. And so I didn't want to go down that path of getting into my 50s, 60s and 70s and having to try and catch up and then lose some weight and all of that other stuff that I needed to do. So CrossFit was a great way for me to lose some weight, and actually lost 12 kilograms in about 10 months, I think it was. I went down from 83 kilos and I actually went down to 70 kilos, so 13 kilograms was the weight loss, which is phenomenal, right? I've since put some weight back on. I'm hovering around 75, but we've got a focused effort for the next 3 months to get into about 72. And about 70 to 72 is my sweet spot. I can actually have six-pack abs. And when I got down to 70 kilos, I had six-pack abs age 51. That's phenomenal. I think that's amazing, right? And you should think that's amazing too. And you might have six-pack abs at age 26. But trust me on this. The difference when you're working out in your 50s compared to when you're 26, let's say. I had six-pack abs when I was 26. It was easy. I just, played basketball 6 times a week. Still ate pizza and drunk beer. It was easy. All that exercise really helps. When you're 52, it's not exercise that's going to sort that out for you. It's actually your diet that's going to do it. And it's so challenging and so difficult to do. But I want to live as long as I can. And I'm guessing as well you want to live as long as you can. And not just, I don't want to be the guy who's in his 80s in an old folks home and unable to get out of the chair. I don't even want to be in the old folks home, let alone in the chair and stuck. I don't want to be stuck in the old folks home. I want to be the 80-year-old who's going on a hike and is still working out, still lifting weights and still doing some form of CrossFit. Obviously not bar muscle ups and rope climbs, but still doing things, still being competitive in the gym at some level. And so this increased longevity, it takes time. It's not something you can just click in at age 65 and go, okay, I'll hit the gym now and I'll live longer. Like, you've got to get these habits built in earlier on. And if you can do that as a younger person, you've got a really good shot at living longer. And also the bit I wanted to say on this particular bit here was, it's not about just living longer. Like, do you want to be 90 and having to drink your food through a straw in the old folks home? No, I want it to be functional. I want it to be usable fitness. I want to be able to go, walk down to the beach and watch the sunset in my 90s. Why the hell not? I don't want to be stuck in an old folks home. And some form of functional training will help you get there. It increases the probability because there's no guarantee, as we know. One of the other big things I didn't realise at the time when I first started was this mental toughness that's kind of being created. So when you've got a really hard workout in front of you and you're looking at the board and you're going through the workout and you're like, oh my gosh. Like, I'll give you an example. A really good example is a Murph. A Murph is a 1 mile run. It's, see if I can remember it. It's, 100 push-ups, 200 press-ups and 300 air squats, I think. And then it's another 1 mile run. So it's a mile run, 100, 200 and 300 and then a mile run. And when you first do your first mile and you're exhausted and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got 100 pull-ups to do now, and then 200 sit-ups, push-ups, and then 300 air squats. And you're like, there is no way am I going to get through that. And so you develop this mental toughness. And yeah, you do the numbering system. So you do pull-ups in sets of 10, or, eventually going down to 5s, and eventually going down to 2s, and eventually going down to sets of 1, just to get through them. And then that's done. And then you go on to your 200 repetitions, whatever that is. And then you get them in 20s, let's say. And then you're down to 10, and then down to 5. And then you're into air squats. And then you're doing them in 10 sets of 30. And so you're developing this method in your brain of how are you going to accomplish this goal, this impossible task. And then, of course, you've got your 1 mile run. So, you're doing a mile, let's say it's 10 minutes. So you get to the 2.5 minute, you're a quarter of the way there. 5 minutes in, you're halfway. 3/4 of the way in, it's 7.5 minutes. And then by the time you get back, it's 10 minutes, you've done the entire lot. That resilience, that mental fortitude that's required for you to look at the amount of work that you've got to get done and just get to it is so incredibly vital. It's helped me on my businesses in so many ways when we felt overwhelmed with too many customers, felt underwhelmed with not enough customers, because businesses like this for everybody, especially in today's marketplace, it's all over the place, right? So when things have been going really good and you're rammed and you've got all this work to do, you just, allocate the time. You go, okay, well, I've got this pile of work. Let's get a quarter through it. Let's get a halfway through it. Let's get 3/4 through it. And now that's done. Let's move on to the next bit. And so you have this mental fortitude, which turns into this mental toughness, which just changes the way that you see the world. And when you've got a lot to do, you just know that you've got to do one step in front of the other, one repetition in front of the other, and you just crack on and get it done. And when things are going really good, you feel really good. And when things are feeling really bad, it's like, that's okay. I know that that's going to change, and I just got to get through this to get on to the next thing, and then I'll feel much better. And that translates into work in so many different ways, that mental toughness. And then other things like, you're just going to go to CrossFit and you high five people on the way in, and everybody knows who you are. And some people give you a high five, some people give you a hug. And so you have human contact, okay? And sometimes it's in all Spanish, and my Spanish is really bad, and everybody laughs at my Spanish because it's so bad. And then the head trainer takes a piss out of my Spanish because it's so bad. And I just don't give a shit, really, because I know it's bad, and I'm totally fine with it. And then people are usually shocked when actually I come out and speak some Spanish. They're like, oh my God, you speak some Spanish. All of that is mental toughness because there is a community and a network around you. And you go in, and you're looking at the other guy. So there's one guy, and he's much taller than me, and he's much stronger than I am, and he's lifting heavier weights, and he's kicking your ass. And then we get to pull-ups, and my monitors are just going into energy saving mode. And then you go into pull-ups, and then when you go onto pull-ups, you're actually kicking his ass because he's much bigger than you, so he weighs a lot more, and he can't keep up on the pull-ups or the toes to bars or the rope climbs. Or there's always something that you're better at than somebody else, and there's always somebody else that's better at something than you are. But as a group of people moving forward and working your way through, there is this camaraderie, this band of brothers, right, and sisters, band of people that are all on this journey with you together, getting through this killer workout. And you get through it, and some people can't do all of it, so they have to scale it back. And some people go really heavy on some of those weights, and that's where I was today with some of those weights that we're lifting much heavier than I would normally go for, because I need to get stronger for a competition that I'm in 4 months' time. But developing this mental toughness through this hardship of physical exercise, it is so underrated. Never really talked about enough, I don't think, when people are talking about their fitness journey. It is imperative in terms of getting fit, both physically and mentally. And one of the really good things I like about CrossFit is the variety in workouts. So, for example, today we did, what did we do? We did dumbbell bench presses, which was nice. We did handstand push-ups. We did some cardio. We did some farmer carries. I wrote a post about it today. I can't remember what we did. We ran a little bit. And And so that's one workout. And then another workout might be all back squat. And then another workout is squat snatches, which is just awful. And then another workout might be pull-ups and toes to bars and rope climbs. It's so different. The variety is so different, and you never know what you're going to get. And that's really what CrossFit is about. It's about a functional form of fitness. So that if you need to go climb a rope to escape something, you can do it. If you need to pull yourself up and climb a wall because the building's on fire and go rescue a child who's stuck on a balcony, I'm pretty confident actually in my ability to do that. I'll put them on my back, climb down, run with them on my back. Like, I have that confidence because the variety in the workouts means I'm not just doing the same thing. You know, when you go to a normal gym and there's all the machines and you're doing the machines and then there's the next machine and then, you know, there's the pec deck machine and you're going through your phone and you're going, okay, pec decks and then bench press. Like, none of that is functional. Like, none of that helps you in an emergency do that much. Maybe you can pick the child up, right? But are you running with a child on your back? No, probably not. We did one a couple of days ago at the weekend. And it wasn't overly heavy. It was 9 kilogram wall balls, you know, the big balls. And we were running 100 meters, 200 meters actually it was, with the 9 kilogram wall ball. You're supposed to hold it like that. I kept doing it like that and getting told off, but I kept put it back on my chest, which is really hard because the whole pressure is pushing on you. And then we did 30 kilogram, what do we call them? I don't know what we call them. The sacks full of sand, whatever they are. The bags, and we had a 30 kilogram one of those, and you had to do 100 meters there, 50 meters there and back, 100 meters in total, and hold it in. So it's like really functional in terms of what you're doing. So if you come across something where you have to switch it on and perform and react to save yourself or get yourself out of danger or somebody else or whatever that happens to be, it gives you this ability to be able to do that. And that's because the variety in the workouts just changes everything. You're not just doing the same thing over and over again, so it's boring. You know, we get there this morning, we didn't know what we were going to have, and you get there and you're looking at the board, and you're like, okay, fair enough. And then you have this ability to do all these different things, not just doing the same thing that a normal person when they go to the gym would do. And I used to get really bored with that. One of the big things I need to cover here is about the combination of cardio and weights. And I did mention at the top of the podcast, actually, in that a lot of people, they just do cardio. Well, I'm a runner or I'm a cyclist. And whilst that's okay on some level for a level of keeping fit, it's also the weightlifting that you need. You need to stress your muscles, all of them, not just your legs and not just your heart, which is also a muscle from a cardio perspective, but you should be challenging all of your muscles. And I'm not saying that you have to work out like Arnold Schwarzenegger, because I don't believe in that, actually. But you've got to build muscle and, slowly increasing the weight over a long period of time. It's just going to help you get much, much fitter. And also, if you're just lifting weight and you're not doing any cardio and you're not out on a bike and you're not doing ski ergs or rowing or cycling or running, then I think you're missing a trick for your cardiovascular and your resting heart rate as well. A combination of those two things will lead you to have a more functional lifestyle. And also, it means you can eat more nicer foods, right? And when I say nicer foods, I mean bad foods, pizza and donuts. You can eat those. I still eat that stuff, by the way. Even though I'm on a weight loss thing, every so often I'm like, you know what, I'll have a pizza. I'm careful with what I eat, but I can still do that. I'm off for cheesecake on Friday, for example. Meeting a client on Thursday who happens to be in Spain is coming over, and we're going to go for coffee. I'm probably going to have a cheesecake then as well. So that's 2 cheesecakes. Like, you can do that because you're doing all this other effort, cardio and weights. And that combination is absolutely vital for you to have longevity and functional health as you get older in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s. And long may that continue. So I do hope that helps. I hope, really, the reason why I did this today was I wanted to motivate you to go out and go do something. When I post out on social media for handstand push-ups, for example, I get comments saying, that's really impressive. It is really impressive. I'm impressed by it, and I'm the one doing it. Doing rope climbs with no legs, it's really, really impressive. Doing pull-ups and toes to bar, it's really, really impressive. Lifting heavy things and pushing them over your back, it's just really impressive. Getting off a bike and then, doing pull-ups and then going onto the ski erg or the row and then doing toes to bar or dumbbell clean and jerks, for example. It's really, 20 kilograms is my new weight, actually, for a clean and jerk on the dumbbell. One-handed and sometimes two-handed, so 20 in each hand. That's really challenging to do. I'm not 26 anymore. I'm 52, and obviously the brain forgets, right? And one of the reasons why the brain forgets is because actually I'm still as functional as these guys at 26. I'm still lifting the same weights and often heavier than some of these younger guys. Obviously, there are other people who are lifting heavier, but people who lift heavier, they all have six-pack and they look like they work out, right? And that's why they're lifting heavier. Those people who are lifting less than me, they don't look like they work out. So that's where we're heading towards. But I hope that this motivates you to go, do you know what? God damn it, if Dan's doing it, I can go do it as well. Because that's what we want. We want this to be like a beacon of light to go, actually, yeah, I'm too fat. I need to go lose some weight. And, you lose weight, by the way, in the kitchen, not at CrossFit, not in the gym. The gym just gives you cardio and it gives you definition on your body. Really, the diet one is really important, and I think next week we'll probably talk about diets and that kind of thing as well, because I think it's so important. But I hope that this serves as some kind of inspiration for you to get off your ass and go join some form of functional training. You will love it. 6 months in, trust me on this. There's a reason why people go, oh, CrossFit's a cult, and how do you know if someone does CrossFit when you go to a party? Don't worry, they'll soon tell you. There's a reason why we're so proud of the stuff that we can do, because it is fully amazing, truly amazing stuff. All right, I hope that's useful and inspires you. We'll catch up with you on the next one. Take care. Hey, it's Dan here. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Please click like or subscribe to the entire podcast.